You know, he knew that Potiphar would be nice to him, so why don't you just sit against him? And he knew that it's a sin against God, and that God sees what is done in secret. Remember, she's promising him, no one will find out. I'll make sure I'll threaten the other servants later time, right? And I'm sure she'd have convinced him it'll be alright, you're safe with me, it's alright, it's fine. Like the Proverbs 7, my husband's gone for the night. It's okay. No problem. But of course it probably wouldn't have been okay. And these things have a way of finding themselves out anyway. But in himself at that time, he probably thought this would be great. You know, just free, easy, nice pleasure of all time. And wow, what a visit the chief captain of the guards. What a catch for me. This made me bride as well. Look how good I am, look how good looking I am. Wow. No, he chooses to honour God and chooses to do right by his master. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbour, in this case Potiphar, as yourself. Of course, we might wonder the immediate aftermath. Joseph's thrown in prison. I wonder why Joseph wasn't executed, actually, because I'm sure that trying to rape the wife of the captain of Pharaoh's guard probably constitutes the death penalty in ancient Egypt. I imagine it was probably just slightly over the threshold of what, considering the poor baker gets executed later on in the story, but probably something far less nasty, as it were. I wonder if Potiphar knew what sort of woman his wife was. But to save face, to get Joseph out of his way, because he preached to them all, look, I'll let him rot in prison. And I'm sure Joseph would have been in prison until he died, except of course his dream was going to out trouble again. And wasn't he exalted? Wasn't he exalted? Became the advisor to Pharaoh, the second in command, he effectively the prime minister of Egypt. He had a long game, both in this world and in the world to come. Joseph, we don't know exactly what he knew about God, but I think he had an inkling that if I follow the right path, I'll be safe in God's hands forever. Remember what Hebrews 11 says about the great heroes of faith of the Old Testament? They looked for a city whose author and foundation is God himself, the New Jerusalem. Joseph stayed on the path of wisdom. He stayed on the path of light. And he knew that if he goes that way, I don't know how God would have done it if Joseph had actually gone off there. I'm sure it would have ended badly for Joseph. Possibly God would have used someone else to deliver everyone from the famine that was to come on the world. But Joseph made sure that he was the man for God's purposes by following him and fighting against his flesh. And that temptation must have been very, very powerful. So how do we follow Joseph's example and not David's example? How do we go the right way? And this might not just be about lust. Can I just widen this? This could be any sin that befalls us, or that we're especially susceptible to. Any sin that we are struggling with, that we are struggling to defeat. Achilles' heel, as it were. Well, it's the advice in the first few verses of Proverbs 7. Follow my advice, my son. Always treasure my commands. Obey my commands and live. Guard my instructions as you guard your own eyes. Tie them on your fingers as a reminder. Write them deep within your heart. Write them deep within your heart. Love wisdom like a sister. Make insight a beloved member of your family. And the key is here. The more we're close to God, the more we want to honour him in our lives, with our bodies, with our souls, with our words, our actions. If we're close to God, we won't want to disappoint him or annoy him, or anger him, or do what's wrong in his, or even in his sight. We'll want to please him and honour him and glorify his name. So we need to stand firm in God. We need to know his word. We need to know his wisdom and his commandments. And we need to have a close, deep relationship with him that transcends circumstances and inoculates us against temptation. If we can do that, we will live a life that's fulfilled in him. A life that is a testimony and a light to others. A life that is an example to others, particularly if we think maybe of our young people. May we be examples to them. May we honour God in all we do. And may we stand firm. Thank God for examples like Joseph that show it is possible to win these battles. It is possible to stand firm. And that God has us in his hands. things that are assessed against us, these tests, may we honor him, may we glorify him in it.